Okay, so this is what I've learned about relationships so far. And again, I'm only been in for about 6-ish months. So again, take this with a grain of salt. This is just what I've learned so far, compiled from podcasts, books. I think I've read at least 20 books on the topic now. Listened to like 50 plus podcasts. And I see no end in sight for my own relationship. And the reason I'm making this is because you can either get experience yourself in relationships or you can get educated. And I'm trying to help you get educated because experience is painful, right? It involves a lot of breakups, it involves a lot of wasted time, wasted potential, which you could have put towards another partner and built up a compounding relationship with them. So that's why I'm educating you based on what I've learned so far. This may or may not be true in the future, but this is just all the information I've compiled so far. So let's get into it. Point one is you got to pick the right woman. So, how do you find this woman, right? It's a skill you need to develop to learn to find these people. And this is basic selection theory. I forgot the word. That's kind of what I wrote down in my notes. Selection theory basically, if you go to bars, you go to parties, you go to clubs, you're like, oh yeah, I'll find women there. There's probably women partying. Right, there are. But is that the type of people you want to be with? Right? Think about the places you are going to find these people. If you're at a bar, 99% of the time, this is someone who drinks a lot. Is that someone you want? Do you want someone who drinks alcohol a lot? If you go to parties, there's like a 70% chance this person does drugs. Do you want that type of person, right? There's also a very high chance that they're just looking for hookups, right? Do you want that type of person? These are questions you gotta ask yourself. And usually for long term relationships, I'm assuming you don't want that. Maybe you do. Maybe you are like that. That probably won't work out, but it's possible. I don't know. Don't have experience on that. But the best place to find these people are in high quality places. Now, how would I define that? High quality places are things that are usually defined as good habits, right? Stuff that is usually positive for a person. So this could be gym, this could be the library, this could be, where else could you go? College campuses? I'm not sure. Just places that are positive, right? It could be hobbies that you like. And I would say that hobbies are probably the most important. If you go to the gym, regardless of their woman being there or not, that's a really good place to find someone, right? If you go to the library, regardless of woman being there or not, that is a really good place to find them because these are positive hobbies that you have. Now, if you don't have any of these hobbies, right, you probably need to get a life. Firstly, if you're not doing well in your own life, do not get into a relationship. You're gonna mess up the other person and yourself because you're not ready for it and they aren't gonna be ready for you either. Don't mess up someone else's life, right? Trust me, this will save you a lot of time. But if you believe you are ready and you have these hobbies, right? If you love to read, go to the library more. If you love to play video games, video game conventions, right? You may not find high quality woman there, but it's someone who has a similar hobby to you. If you love to, I'm not even sure what you could like love, right? Maybe you love to do art. Libraries usually have art conventions, right? Go there. A lot of women love to draw. There's all these high quality places you can find these people. And when you do go there, right? You shouldn't go there for the sake of finding women because what will happen long term is that you go there for women, right? And let's say you get someone, right? Oh, wonderful, you found someone. And you go to the library, it's a woman from the library. But you hate reading. You don't even read. So now you're talking to someone who loves to read, right? They spend a lot of their time at the library, and you're someone who doesn't like to read. You have nothing to relate on. There's no interest, nothing to talk about. The girl I'm with right now, the first time we met was in a psychology class, right? An AP psychology class. That's the first time we started talking. And we both love psychology. Like we can talk for hours on psychology. That's amazing, right? Because it's something we genuinely both like. But if you're going into psychology simply because you'd be like, oh, there's probably a high quality woman there, you guys aren't gonna have anything to relate on. Now, let's say you do go to this place, right? Let's say you do go to the library and you genuinely go there because you like to go to the library and you find a woman, right? You guys both have the same interest. Wonderful. Here's a question you should ask yourself. Maybe it's a library, maybe it's a gym, maybe it's somewhere else, right? Question you should ask yourself. This will solve probably most of your relationship problems or pick out the right woman for you. Ready? Would you go to war with this person? They might be like, okay, that's a really odd question. Why would you ask that? It breaks it down into two distinct pieces. One, this means if you would go to war with this person, right, this means that they won't backstab you. If you were to get abducted by the enemy and you guys were placed in separate rooms and you were told to give information about the other person or I'll kill you. That means the other person will not stab you in the back and give out information, and you won't either, right? Someone you can trust. That's the first one. Second is that they are hard people. They're willing to go through hard times, right? This means that when you guys are in the trenches, going to war, bullets flying around you, right? She won't sit there crying. She won't sit there letting her emotions out. She'll get up, she'll start doing work alongside you. You'll be like, all right, do this, do that, do this. And, she'll work with you. She won't start sitting on the floor crying, right? The reason I say this is because there's a lot of girls now who are just sensitive, right? They're just, oh, I dropped my Stanley Cup. Oh, no. Ah. It's like, I want someone who's like, oh, my bottle fell. Picks it back up, back to normal life. Like, I don't like those women that overreact. I don't think anyone, I don't know who likes them. It's just a nuisance. Like, why? So this is important long term to ask yourself this question: would you go to war with this person? Now that's point one. Point two is every relationship is unique, right? There's no other two relationships on earth like you two will be, right? So let's say this is after you get the woman, right? Let's say you've got the woman, you guys are together. You'll look at other relationships, you'll be like, oh, they're like this, they're like that. She will also be like, oh, they're like this, they're like that. Right, but that's not a relationship you want to mimic because you are a separate person, she is a separate person. There's no way to relate that together. If your relationship can be categorized into something, you're not living your own relationship. You're living someone else's ideal of a relationship. Now, of course, there are some things that can be generalized, right? Like, for example, on a wide enough scale, a vague enough scale, there is this topic of masculine and feminine energy, right? Of course, right? There is going to be a more masculine person, a more feminine person. Might switch up. I'll talk about that more later. But of course, it can be categorized into that, right? Oh, there's a masculine person, there's feminine. But if someone's like, oh, if he does this, like I saw this video the other day, they're like, it's like some orange peel theory. It's like the girl hands the guy an orange peel, and an orange, and they ask the guy like, can you peel this for me? And then the girl is like, if they don't peel it for you, they don't care for you. It tells you a lot about the relationship down the line. It's like, why are you handing me you can peel an orange. Like, why are you acting stupid? If that's the type of person that you're with, you got to break up with them. Like, if they've tested you like that, leave. Like, no. It's just not something you do. That's living someone else's relationship, someone else's ideal. They've just set an expectation on your relationship. You're giving power to someone else on your relationship simply by saying, oh, their relationship is like this, I'm going to try to make it like that. You need to understand it's unique, it's to you. You guys both need to figure it out together. That's why I believe, and I've heard this from a lot of people, like relationship experts. There's this girl called Esther Perel. I've listened to Alex Hormozy a lot. Their relationship, him, Alex, and Layla, amazing relationship. Tom Bilyeu, founder of Quest Protein, him and his wife, amazing relationship, right? They've been together 20 plus years. It's wonderful, right? Like these are people who have very unique relationships, and they give really good advice on this. And they understand that there's three things, right? All of these guys have said three things. Mission, values, and interest are the things that you guys should have in common, the man and the woman. So simply put, you want to go to the same place, which is the mission, right? With the same methods, which is the values, and will have fun going there, which is the interests, right? So those are the three things that are really important. You want to go to the same place with the same methods and will have fun while going there. Now this could mean, let's say you guys both want kids, right? That's a shared mission. With the same methods, right? That's maybe you guys both raise kids in the same way, and you'll have fun going there. You know that this other person, like, she'll joke around with me. You know that you'll joke around with her, right? Now, if one of those aren't aligned, let's say that you want kids, but she doesn't want kids, that's a misalignment. That's going to cause problems down the line, right? That's going to be something that you guys will conflict on in the future. You need to watch out for that. So it's really important to realize that every relationship is unique and that you need to relate on your mission, values, and your interests, right? They have to all be the same. Make sure you clear this up. And the way you clear this up is point three, which is you got to communicate like crazy. You guys got to talk to each other all the time. And I don't mean this in like, oh, how was your day? Yeah, it was good. How was your day? Yeah. No, I mean like Talk about everything. Talk about your deepest, darkest desires. Talk about your unmet desires. Talk about your expectations from her, right? And encourage her, because usually girls are a little bit shyer, right? Just usually, generally. You got to encourage her to speak up. Like, tell me, what is it you want? What is it you're looking for? Now, you might be like, okay, but you don't ask women what they want, right? Because they don't know what they want. Ask her. Because what happens for girls, right? Usually, this is what happens. They expect something from a guy. The guy doesn't know that she expects that in the first place. Let's give an example. Let's say this is opening the door for her, right? Opening the car door for her. Now, let's say that you don't even know that's a thing. I didn't know this was a thing, right? It's like you gotta open the car door for her, let her in. Oh, that's chivalry. I don't know that. I've never seen that in my life. And so let's say you don't do that for her. She sits in the car beside you, you sit in the car beside her. In her mind, all of a sudden there's this unmet expectation where she's like, in her head only, she won't tell you this. She'll be like, in her head, oh, he didn't open the door for me. Maybe he doesn't care for me. Is he not chivalrous? Like, what's going on? He's not a man. But you didn't even know that was a thing, right? You do a lot of other stuff. You take care of her, right? You take her out, all this stuff. But there's that one unmet expectation that you didn't even know about simply because she didn't communicate it with you. It's the same the other way around. As guys, sometimes we want a lot more sex, right? Sometimes we want not to go out so much. Sometimes we want anything, right? You guys got to talk about this. And if you try to bring it up in conversation and she tries to ignore it, this is not someone you got to be with. If she's not open to these hard conversations, stuff that, you sit beside each other and it gets awkward. I'm serious. Like, there's silence in the room when you ask the question, what is your darkest desire? I don't want to have as much sex with you. When you say that with them, it's going to open a rift. It's going to create silence. It's going to create awkwardness. But that is the awkwardness that grows you guys together. This is really important. Communication, this point 3, you guys have to talk about everything. If she does something or she goes out with someone and you're like, no, I don't like that, tell her, right? Don't share with the guys. That's gossiping. That's woman stuff, right? And she will also be prone to do that. Encourage her. To encourage her, you got to do it yourself first. You got to step up. Again, I'll talk about this after, right? About this masculine, like, dominating stuff. You got to step it up first. And I know it's hard. I know it's really hard to bring up this stuff. But trust me, it'll be worth it because there's going to be no space sitting between each other. Anxiety in relationships, right? This happens a lot where it's like, oh, why isn't she texting me back? Why isn't she anything, right? Is she cheating on me? Is she talking to other guys? Anxiety happens when there's unclear communication or when there was no communication at all. You need to be open to nearly everything, right? Talk about what you hate about them, what you love about them. I hate it when you treat me like this, when you treat me like a kid and you pat me on the head, right? That's something I told that's something we talked about, right? I told her, like, I don't like it when you're like acting all motherly towards me. Like, don't do that. And she stopped. That's great. I love her more now. Like, that's how it works. She might tell me something in the future like, I hate it when you try to control when I do this. Okay, I'll back up a bit. This is how you guys learn from each other. Because if you just simply ask them what they want, you'll be able to figure it out. You don't come out being able to read the woman's mind. Neither can they do the same for you. So if you ever feel anxiety in a relationship, if you ever feel like, oh, why does she do that? Why is she talking to this guy? Say, I don't like it when you talk to other guys. And then ask her to prompt back, like, why do you think that is? Right? Maybe you guys can figure it out. Maybe you can figure out that you're pretty anxious when she talks to other guys because you feel jealous, right? That's a conversation you can have. You can't be embarrassed talking to her about this. Right? Because this is going to be something that sits between you when you guys sit beside each other. Basically, the questions you got to ask, if I had to boil it down to one sentence, is talk about the stuff that sits between you guys when you guys just sit down and have nothing to talk about. What is on the top of your head? Or even, what is in the bottom of your mind? Stuff that you're scared to talk about. Bring it out. Right? This means sexual stuff as well. This means, I don't like it when you party. It makes me feel XYZ. Let's talk through this. Let's figure this out. Why is that? How can we work on this, right? Do you like this? Do you value it? Stuff that you guys just got to talk about this. I can't do that for you. This is just the way it is. So next thing, This is point four. Women, treat them like humans, right? There's a lot of online, especially. There's a lot of like this Andrew Tate stuff where it's like, oh, women are like this. Oh, women are X, Y, Z. All those people, right? And in some cases, they are correct. They are correct about a few things, but the rest is just a load of BS, right? I don't think any of that is right. I think if you treat women like humans, they will treat you like humans as well. Everybody wants connections. Humans want connections. It's not just men or women. Humans want connections. They want good relationships. Relationships aren't just between man and woman, they're between man and man. You might have a really close friend. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do. Let's say you do. It's a close friend. That's a relationship, right? I have a relationship with my headphones, right? That sounds weird. I do not do sexual stuff with my headphones, but I have a relationship with it, right? I love to wear them. That's because we reciprocate, right? I give the headphones, I don't know what the headphones want. They don't want anything. I give the headphones a usage, right? I use the headphones. Headphones give me music. Headphones give me audio, private audio, so that people don't listen to the weird podcasts I'm listening to, right? Talking about Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, talking about like jacking off in the middle of a jungle. Anyways, women like all day they're trying to duck these like flying penis. Just imagine penises flying towards them. Just a bunch of guys like, oh, you're so cute, you're so hot, and all of them coming in so horny. It's just like they're just like left and right, like, oh, penis, let me do, oh shit, oh my god, and it's just like, just go in without wanting sex. That puts you in the top 10%. You just don't need to care. Like, it's very obvious when you want it. Trust me. Like, you can see it. The way you communicate flips right away when your desires are completely eradicated. Now, it is true, men will have the desire all the time to want sex. It's innate, it's biological, it's going to happen, right? It's an evolutionary thing. But you can't come in only wanting that. Nobody wants to be seen as a sex tool, right? But they also don't just want to be seen as a loving relationship. They want to have sex as well. It's a woman's desire as well. It's also a man's desire, except you guys are on different timelines, right? Guys want it faster than women, usually, generally. I'm generalizing here, but usually that's how it is. Most guys just want sex, and I truly believe that there's like a woman instinct that can figure this out. And I wouldn't even say it's an instinct. I would just say that it's the way you communicate. It's like, oh, hey, you're so cute, you're so pretty. And then she's like, oh, thank you. And then like she posts again in the future, like, oh my God, you're so cute, you're so pretty. Like it's the same thing over, like you can tell, right? But then genuine stuff is like, you know, it's just because you can, just because you talk to a girl doesn't mean you have to be into them, right? That's kind of the point. So for example, there's this one girl, she's my friend's sister. And you know, she's like 2 3 years younger than me. So, and there's nothing like that. Like it's just my friend's sister, right? I just see her as like a human. And one time we were at a football game, right? And her brothers, like older brothers, they weren't there. It was just her there. It was just me and her. It was like late night, and you know she didn't really have a ride home. She was calling her brothers. Brothers weren't picking up. So then I told her, I'm like, you want to come with me? Like we can just, I'll take you back home. And she's like, yeah. So I kind of see her as my sister now, in a way, because all relationships with women do not have to be sexual. Often do not. Now, usually I don't trust people who have, generally, guys that have woman friends are usually trying to take advantage of them for sex most of the time. Like, oh, maybe she'll come up to me. Maybe I'll be able to turn this into a relationship. No. And the thing is, sometimes girls get fooled too. Like they're able to think like, oh, he's just a friend. You know, she's just a friend. But like as guys, we know like it's not. They're not just friends, right? But there's a paradox there, right? Because here's the thing: you can be friends with a woman. I'm not saying that's not possible. It's just most of the time, 90% of the time, that doesn't work. But the 10% of the time it does, right? Where you guys are friends first and then you get into relationships. Those relationships actually end up really well. And the difference between those two, the 90% and the 10%, are intentions, right? Again, this comes back to sex. Most guys just want sex. This 10% genuinely wants a relationship, right? Even though the 90% might be like, oh, I want a relationship, the reason they want a relationship is for the sex. This person wants a relationship for the relationship. That's the difference, right? And most of the time, girls don't like when guys, like, you give off friend vibes. Like, it's obvious. When I say friend, I mean that in the way of you talk to them and you guys genuinely like to talk to each other, right? You're not there like catching feelings. It's just someone you like to talk to. That's it. And that can turn into someone in the future who you might date. It's very possible. And so you need to stop being so abnormal around girls. And the way you can treat yourself, teach yourself to do this, is pretty much try to try to talk normally to these girls and do activities with them without any intent of anything. And the way I found to do this, and this might sound kind of grotesque, go to uglier older women first and just genuinely compliment them, right? I saw this one woman, I remember I was going to the gym, and she had this like beautiful like scarf on. It was like I don't even know, it was like a nice pattern. I think it had like Italy flag. I don't even know what it was. And she was just sitting there, and I went up to her. I'm like, "Hey, I don't want anything from you. I just wanted to say your scarf is gorgeous." And she got the best smile I think I've ever seen. Like, she went from like 60 years old. She wasn't even 60 years old. She went from looking like she was 60-year-old to like 35, simply because I complimented her, simply because of her smile, right? She's like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like, she genuinely loved that. And that is how you're supposed to do it, right? Genuine interest. It's not with some malicious intent lying below. Because if I wanted to get her number, I would have been like, "Oh, hey, I love your hat. Can I get your number?" It's like the compliment doesn't matter anymore. Because, like, oh, all of a sudden I have to do something. Like, no, you just complimented her because you wanted to, because you're real. This is why people can tell between genuine and ingenuine compliments. "Oh, I love your hair." No, you don't. Don't lie to me. "Oh man, you're looking so muscular." All right, I know. Give me a specific detail. "Oh man, that vein on your bicep is really popping." Right? If this is for guys, of course. You probably shouldn't say that to a girl. That's kind of weird. But like, if you're saying it to a girl, don't talk about her eyes. Talk about something that she probably did that day. Like, "Oh, your eyeliner kind of makes you look like a Korean pop star." Maybe she loves Korean pop stars. You don't know. Just genuinely say that without any intent at all, without any intent to grab their number. And I guarantee you'll start becoming more comfortable around women. Just be normal. Again, just older women, start off with them and then start going younger, right? Until you're at your age bracket or younger. And it's literally just tapping them on the shoulder, right? They turn around and say, "Excuse me, I just wanted to say you look really pretty today. Have a great day." That's it. You can do that. That'll that'll make someone's day. Like, people remember being complimented. I was on Reddit. Okay, look, listen. I was on Reddit for a few minutes. Okay, I went on Reddit for a few minutes and I saw one post. Right? I'm not a Reddit user, trust me. And I saw one post and it was like, I still remember this one compliment this guy gave me like 5 years ago. I'm like, "You still remember that?" And then in the post she wrote somewhere in there like, "He was kind of cute. I wish he asked me for my number." Like, you could be that person. That could have been one of you. He gave a genuine compliment and she still remembers it to this day, because compliments are rare when they're real. Not when there's some intention behind it. When they're real, they're rare. And you can't be giving this out all the time. I can't give you any advice on intentions, because that is something you have to pick. If you're still that horny person, you're gonna have to take some character development to change that. It's very important, because it shows in everything, body language, the way you act. I don't even know how to explain it. You're just going to have to change your intentions. Maybe there is a way to describe it. I just haven't formalized it yet, right? I haven't been able to define that, but it's obvious, right? So you just genuinely need to want a relationship and not sex. It comes off. It's pretty obvious. So yeah, just treat them like humans, treat them like normal women, and I guarantee you'll get ahead of a lot of people. So point five is nice guys. This is one liner I had. Nice guys start last, they don't finish last. It's just a longer time scale. So first we're going to define what a nice guy is. When people say nice guys finish last, right? That's the quote that's usually thrown around. Nice guys finish last. What do they mean by this guy? Nice guy in this term is someone who cares about others' opinions and will change their own beliefs to match or serve their opinions. This means that nice guy is usually someone who's like, let's say a girl's like, oh, that looks kind of ugly on you. And the guy's like, oh, really? Oh yeah, I think so too. Let me change it. That's a nice guy. That's not even a nice guy. I would call that an ungenuine guy. Nice, I don't think that's the right word. That's this ingenuity, right? Not having any morals, not having any ethics, not having any values for yourself. You're just a people pleaser. And I think that is a very unattractive trait in all sexes. Of course, people want to take advantage of people pleasers. That's the thing. It's not really unattractive, but it's more seen as naive. It's more seen as weak innocence. And the thing with nice guys, the way I define it, is someone who's a kind man. Who doesn't want a nice person in their life, right? Someone who can open the door for them. Someone who can surprise them with a nice gift on a random Wednesday morning. Someone who can send them a text at night saying, hey, I love you. I don't see that as nice guy behavior. If it's genuine and the intentions, again, the intentions matter here. If the intentions are true, then it won't matter. Trust me, girls love it when you give real compliments. They love it when you're nice, when you're kind. They don't like it when you're ingenuine. If they say something and you conform to it every single time, that's going to lead to you being unrespected by them. You're not going to have any respect, not even by girls, by guys. Because everybody will know you're someone you can throw around. This is someone that I can say, oh, that looks ugly. And they're like, oh, really? Oh, let me take it off. That's so unrespectful. Like, I can't respect you if you do that. Because you have no values. Like, if someone tells me this hoodie looks ugly, I'm like, all right. And I don't care. Even the girl I'm with, if she says, oh, I don't like the way that hoodie looks on you, I'm like, okay, why? And she'd be like, oh, it makes you look kind of fat. I'm like, okay, whatever. I like the hoodie. Now, if she says something like, okay, it makes you look kind of goofy, and then I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe, like, I was just experimenting today. Maybe it kind of does look goofy. Then that is something you consider, right? Again, that's a fine line, and intentions matter. I have to keep on bringing that up because it's so true. The intention there is not to conform to what she says, but to genuinely think through what she says. If you love your hoodie and she doesn't, keep your hoodie on. But if you don't like your hoodie and she's like, I don't like that hoodie, then you can take it off, right? Because why are you wearing it if you don't like it? Maybe you wore something goofy, right? If you're not confident in your own stuff, she's going to understand that. She's going to see that. She's going to be able to feel it. Right? If she says, like, oh, that was kind of weird on you, you'll be like, oh, yeah, it does kind of look weird on me. Don't wear weird stuff. Like, come on. If you're not confident in what you wear, what you do, then it's going to be pretty obvious. It shows. And that's what a nice guy is, someone who will conform to what other people say. So don't be an ungenuine man, but do be a nice man. Do be a kind man, right? That doesn't mean people take advantage of you. I don't remember who this quote is by, but it's like, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. So think of the man who is really kind, but he's a small, weak, kind of midget guy. But then think of the man who is kind. He's this huge, jacked, muscular, like his veins are popping out. He's like, his shirt is about to rip because of how muscular he is. And he's like, here, man, let me open the door for you. Like, that's the type of guy you want to be like. Because that is a kind man. Again, the way you're viewed is different because that guy doesn't care about other people's opinions, but he's still a nice person. So the next point 6, this is masculinity and femininity. This is pretty controversial, I think. And I'm going to define a few terms here. Feminine does not mean woman, and masculine does not mean man. It is simply an energy. And because it's an energy, that means both sexes can have it. Both man and woman can have feminine and masculine energy. Right? There's no definition. The only definition is generally. In general, usually, girls are more feminine. In general, men are more masculine. Right? And this now, you can kind of see this reversing. And I'm not going to assign a good or bad to that because I don't think there is a good or bad in that. I just think what's happening is men are turning feminine faster than women are turning masculine. So what's happening is there's an imbalance, right? I think there has to always be that balance between the relationship. This is really important. In the modern world today, we have to adapt to it. You need to be able to switch between both because now women have roles that before men didn't have. Or sorry, men did have. And so now they're kind of trying to replace it, right? So what I mean by this, right, being able to switch between both is understanding each other's weakness and understanding each other's strengths. So if she, for example, I'll give an example in my relationship, the woman I'm with, she is way better than me at dressing up. Like her clothing style is just out of the world, right? She's really good at dressing up. And that's amazing, right? Me, on the other hand, I wake up, I grab the first hoodie I see, I grab some pants. So if I show her some of my clothes and I'm like, okay, what do you think? Like, here's some pants, right? What do you think I should wear with this? She'll be like, oh, okay, try this shirt, try that shirt. And if I say like, oh no, I don't like this shirt, it's kind of weird, it's kind of tight. And she'll be like, okay, what other options you got? Oh, here it is. Like, that's me being a little more feminine because she's better at that. And if I'm better at her, if I'm better than her at something, right? I'm much better physically. I'm much better when it comes to things like going out to places, taking lead, like running a conversation. I will do that because I'm better than her at that. And that's fine. We both understand that. This is something, again, going back to communication, it's very important. You guys need to talk about this. Oh, I see you're better at this than I am, right? Maybe you should take care of this. Oh, you choose the better restaurants. You take care of this, right? Oh, you know better places to go out. You choose and then we'll figure it out together, right? This is stuff you guys got to talk about. And so the default should be you as the guy. It doesn't have to be, right? But generally, most guys want to be dominant. Most guys want to be the ones who control the relationship. You have to earn that. It's not something that's given. She has to feel like she can relax under you. That's how it works, right? Ever since we've been together, she has been so much more feminine. Before, she was a very masculine woman, right? But ever since we got together, I'm a bit more aggressive. I'm a bit more dominating, just in general, right? I just don't care. I just come across however I want to. I don't really care about others sometimes, which is bad in some ways, but it happens. But ever since we got together, she's become so much more feminine. She dresses differently. She dresses more feminine, like more girlish. Before she used to wear like baggy stuff, and now she still does, but it's not as much. Like now she has like nice fitting clothes, softer clothes, stuff that just makes her curves pop, all that kind of stuff, right? Because I'm in. She feels like she deserves it. Because you have to earn that. You have to show, yes, I can take care of you. Yes, I can keep you safe. Yes, you can do this. You can relax. You're safe under me. That's how you got to make them feel. So being a man, if you want a traditional relationship, simply put, is to make her life as easy as possible, right? When people say provide, protect, providing isn't just money, right? People think it's just that. Providing isn't just money. Providing also means, when they say provide and protect, they mean that in the sense of like provide them safety, right? If you guys go out, always be in front of her, right? These are small things. I didn't know about any of this, right? And again, like the reason most people don't know how to do this is either because they don't have a good father figure or they don't have one at all. For me, I didn't have a good one, personally. And that affected the way that my relationships went. So I had to learn a lot of this on my own. But again, it's just making her life as easy as possible. That's the one-liner. If she's like, oh, I can't do this, then you just step up and do it. If you see her struggling visually, help her, right? You see her bag's kind of heavy on her, pick it up for her, right? You see, oh, she's holding all the groceries, take it from her. It's just making her life easier. That's it. When you open the door for her, that's making her life easier. When you walk on the outside of the sidewalk, that's making her life easier. Everything should just make her life easier if you want a traditional relationship. Then you will earn that masculine dominant role. It is not given unless the woman is weak. It is not given. And I'm assuming you don't want a weak woman because, like I said before, this has to be someone that you go to war with. And if it's someone you go to war with, then that means that they're not weak. That means that they don't submit because they have to, but rather they submit because it's earned from you. That's very important. And so there's two types of relationships. There's a traditional, right, masculine, feminine, where usually the girl's more feminine, right? This is something that's earned. Like I said, you have to show her that you deserve it. And there's a partnership. I think you can mix the both. Partnership is more like you guys are working together towards the same goals, and I think that's still, you can do both. I just think that usually there's more of a balancing act with a partnership, and I'm not too good at this because that's not really what I'm in. I'm kind of more like the dominant. Let me take care of things, but sometimes we do have partnership values where it's like we both want to go someplace. Okay, let's work this out. How are we going to do this? And so that's just having designed roles. Once again, figure out each other's strengths and weaknesses. This is something you got to communicate about. Okay, Bini, I think that I'm way better at dressing, right? So I think I should pick up the clothes on our date night. And then I'm like, okay, I think I'm way better at, you know, taking us out to good places. So let me do that. I'll pick that for you. Now, ideally, you want to make it easier for her, right? So you would try to take on as much stuff, even if it's hard. But again, she will have some strengths, and this will show. Usually, these strengths, generally for women, are emotional, and like they're usually stronger emotionally, which means they're able to handle emotions better, and also they just have better, what's the word, emotional EQ. Like there's an IQ and an EQ. I would say men usually are more IQ. Women are usually more EQ. We're more rational. They're more emotional. Again, no bad or good there. They both are required in their own extent. I tend to be too very rational. I tend to be straight, like I don't care about your emotions. I don't think trauma is real. I don't think depression is real. I don't think any of that sadness is real. But like she, on the other hand, is kind of like, yeah, that's real. She does therapy. She's into that, right? So again, it's just designed roles. We have our own thing, and that's something you got to figure out with each other, right? You got to really talk about it. Like, oh, I see that you're more like this. I'm also a little bit like this. Why do you think you're like that? It's also a nice conversation starter. So point 7, men and women think differently. You got to use this to your advantage. So generally, and I'm always generalizing, because there are exceptions to this, but usually this is how it goes. Generally, men want respect, and generally, women want attention. Another line to add on to this is why men lie. This is why women wear makeup. Right? That's really interesting. So if you're a guy, which you probably are, you need to give attention to your woman. And this attention also has to be earned from her. You can't just give her attention. Again, this is the difference between intentions, where it's nice guy versus kind guy. Nice guy will just give her compliments even when she's doing nothing, right? It's not complimenting her when she does nothing. It's complimenting when you see she's put in an effort in her looks, right? It's complimenting when you see, oh wow, you're dressed up really nice today. Like, your boots look amazing. Where'd you get them from? It's complimenting when you see that her hair color is a little dyed, right? Be like, wow, that hair dye makes you stand out. It's just these little small things that you notice. You gotta praise when it's earned. It's not given. This is stuff that has to be earned. It has to be genuine from you. If you really like it, compliment it. If you don't like it, don't say anything. You don't have to say anything negative. Don't even say anything negative unless it really hurts you. Like if she wears like her tits are out, right, and you don't like that, then say it. Like, I don't like it when you dress like that. It's kind of weird. Usually they'll listen. They understand that. If they really care for you, they will listen. And so that right there is important, which is don't say negative stuff unless it genuinely hurts you. Now, usually if they're doing that stuff anyways, you probably shouldn't be with them, right? But either don't say anything and only give respect when it's earned. Sorry, only give praise when it's earned. And she, usually respect is earned as well. Respect is earned through when you do stuff for her, when you take on the role, when you make sure everything's safer. That's respect earned. When you tell her to do something, she'll do it. That's respect for us, because we love that, right? We love when we can be leaders as guys, generally. We love when we can be leaders, when we can take lead, right? Again, that has to be earned. You have to show that I am worthy of leadership, not you. That takes me to my last point. Yes, last point. You have to learn to create desire. When time passes, you guys start to get to know each other. So how relationships start usually, in the start, first few months is really like, oh, everything's so mysterious. You don't know anything about them, right? What are they doing? What are they like? What do they like? Um, where do they like to go out? What are their hobbies? What are their passions? What do they work on? There's just so much stuff you got to learn, get to know about them, and they're so mysterious, right? There's just so much like intrigue surrounding them. That's why you're initially into them. But over time, as you guys get to know each other, that mysteriousness kind of drops off. It's it starts to get boring. It's like, oh, I already know this person. Oh yeah, I know they like that mango drink. Oh yeah, she likes the matcha latte. I'll get that for her. And there's nothing new to learn. And so what happens is people look for novelty, right? Because in a relationship, this is the greatest paradox. I learned this from Esther Perel, this book called Mating in Captivity. She talks about how the biggest reason for cheating is a boring relationship, right? Where there's no more desire in the relationship because you know everything about the person. You guys live together, right? There's nothing fun anymore, nothing mysterious. And this happens when there's a lack of space, when there's a lack of mysteriousness that has to be created. So what happened in the past times, right? I'll try to go back in the past. What happened was the woman stayed, right? They took care of the kids at home, whatever. And the guys went out to hunt. I'm talking like literally when we were in the jungles. The guys went out to hunt. And so the woman on her mind always has this mysteriousness like, is he okay? Is he going to be fine? Will he come back tonight? I wonder what he's doing. And then he comes back later in the day, brings a nice batch of food, and then they talk about their stuff. She was like, oh, yeah, I took care of the kid. He said his first word today. Can you believe that? And then the guy comes back like, yeah, bro, I just killed a deer. It's just a nice little dynamic. You guys have something to talk about. It's mysterious for both of you. But then what happens in the modern day is that you guys spend so much time together. Take care of the kids at home together. You expect roles to be the same, right? Oh, she does the dishwasher, I do this, right? You guys are doing it together. You're living the same life together. It's nothing fun. The only thing that's different is that she does a different job, maybe. And then you do a different job, maybe. It's even worse if you guys do the same job because now you have absolutely nothing to talk about. It's like when you guys are sitting on the dinner table later at night, it's like, how was your day? It's like, you were there. You have nothing to talk about, nothing serious. So you need to learn to create space. And this means pursuing your hobbies, pursuing stuff that you like to do, or even work that is separate from her. So that when you guys come together, maybe at the end of the day or in a few days, then you guys have something to talk about, right? This is why usually in college, when people move in together, relationships fall apart. I think divorce rates for people who moved in together before marriage is much higher for people who moved in together after marriage for the exact same reason, lack of desire, right? It's like you see the life, you see them together, there's no more mysteriousness. It's boring. Although you get the security, right? It's the paradox of relationships. You get the security of a relationship, like, oh, I know they're with me. You miss out on all of that mysteriousness. And so you need to find a balancing act between these two, where it's, we are secure, we are in a secure relationship, but there's also a lot to learn from me because I have a separate life from you. And in the end, we come together, we talk about it, and that's the security of the relationship. That's how I see it as. And so this kind of ties into like the pickup artist stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, don't text back too fast, oh, don't spend time with her all the time, she loses desire. And it is true. This is true on a fundamental level. If you spend all your time with one person, you guys live the same life. There's nothing to talk about. Nothing's fun. You guys live different lives. You have different habits, different hobbies. Like, for example, girl I'm with, she goes to therapy. I do not go to therapy. I do not believe in therapy. But then we have something to talk about, right? I'm like, oh, how was therapy? And she tells me, oh, yeah, we talked about this, we talked about that. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's something to talk about. Oh, what do you think of this? Like, why do you think that is? And again, I'm usually against it. So I'm like, your therapist's kind of stupid. But yeah, that's just how it is. And again, it's just living different lives, coming together at the end of the day to talk about it. And again, if you guys have those shared mission, the shared values, the shared interests, then you guys are going to the same place in the same ways, and you guys are just having fun along the way. That's it. If your mission is to have kids, maybe you guys do that in different ways, but you also have fun along the way. That's your interest. You guys have the same way of doing it, values. So you see how all of this kind of ties together? So this could be different for different people. Usually you have to create space for most couples, I would think. But there's also some people who need to close the space where they spend too much time apart, right? Again, this is a balancing act. You need to kind of trial and error it. And this is very important for communication. Once again, talk about it like, oh, I feel like we didn't meet enough this week. I think we should meet up more. And maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. Find a balance, right? Find a way, oh yeah, maybe we didn't meet up this week that much. Let's try going 2 times a week somewhere. Let's try doing a little more activities. Maybe we should do this thing together, right? That's just stuff that you figure out as you do that. And so you need to be the one who creates the space for each other and against each other, because usually as a guy, you want to be the dominant one generally. And so this means that you need to initiate, like, okay, I'm gonna go do my own hobby. Then she'll start doing her own hobbies as well, because her whole life is not for you, right? You have your own life. She wasn't made for you, right? She was just made, period. You guys choose to be together. These are voluntary relationships. So you plan all the dates. You plan the time apart from each other. You plan some time with your boys so that you guys have something to talk about later, right? You plan time where you just want to go play golf on your own. So you guys have something to talk about later, right? Spend quality time together. You know, and this is important. This is an important thing. Schedule dates, but don't plan dates, right? This is an important line, because when you plan dates, planning means you tell the other person about it. Scheduling means you know about it, but she doesn't. And so usually this creates like that mysteriousness where it's like, you know that, okay, on Saturday we're gonna go out, but you haven't told her yet. So you're gonna tell her on Friday, like, okay, tomorrow let's be out at 6. She loves that. They love that. Mysteriousness, right? It's like, oh, wow, that was sudden. And it seems like you're very spontaneous when really you are very planned. You've thought everything out. And this comes off as a very put together person, where you're actually scheduled, but they think it's spontaneous. Mysteriousness, right? There's no more boringness. It's random. It's a random date. Oh, you must really care for me. So that's pretty much all the 8 points. And again, I'm only 6 months in. So take this with a grain of salt, but this is what I've learned so far. And I think the future of my relationship will probably be really good. Period. I don't know what to add to that. Based on what I've learned, and I'm still learning a lot, there's still a lot to learn, trust me. There's so much to learn about desire, about intimacy, about just figuring it out with each other. And I know it shouldn't be this hard. Like, how did people in the past figure it out? But again, naturally, their lives were built for that. Nature has its own ways of figuring out polarity, but in the modern day, this polarity is pretty reversed. Um, in a lot of ways, the state has stepped in to help replace the man in certain ways. And what I mean by that is, think about police, right? Police have replaced the need for a strong man, where it's like, oh, let me just call the police instead of dealing with the problem yourself. It's like, oh, the house is on fire. Let me call the fireman. Of course, they're more qualified. Like, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's like all of a sudden men don't have skills anymore. Oh, my car broke down. Let me call the mechanic. You don't have any skills anymore. So this is really important in today's day, to figure out how to create this desire, intimacy, how to actually extend your relationship and keep it going. So hope you learned something. That was really long, 50 minutes of me talking. I didn't even realize. So yeah, all right. Have a good one. Hope you learned.